the first to know. Nsem-Pii TV.
Abatoɔ no atimi anya aba no awie aka sɛ EC the certified results no eba beto abɔnten but per the media no atimi ɛkeka bɔ mu deɛ Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia atimi awini over 62 to 63% a no ɔka sɛ deɛ watimi article na ɛno ɛna sisi conversation a atimi aba abɛtɔ mu ɛne sɛ sɛnea Alan Kwadwo ntini anyini super delegate conference no a yɛbɛka sɛ ɛno ka ho bi ɛna otimi ɛte ne ho no saa ɛna yɛwura Kennedy Kompreko Agyapong nso ebetimi ayɛ anaa mpo sɛ obetimi ɛde ne ntoma ɛtimi abɔ Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia deɛ ano na wɔn ɛtimi aka bom abreki 8 no ana wei ɛne conversation a aba a NPP amanyɔkuo no ebobo ho na di asɛm na ɔka fa ho yɛnkɔ na yɛnkɔ tie.
That Dr. Bawumia would get over 70%. To be frank with you, I was on record to say 75. But I'm also aware, and I speak to the Kennedy camp a lot, and also the Kutu's people. I knew Dr. Kutu was not coming up as I expected it, so it went to Kennedy. So I was always in constant touch. And I knew Kennedy would pull some votes. I wasn't too sure how many, but you get 30-something%, isn't it?
Yes,
35%.
35%.
Very impressive.
As we speak.
But Kennedy is a politician. He's a down-to-earth politician. He understands where to press the buttons. His strategy worked in a way. He was in a difficult election for him. Here he is, the government that he has been part. Sometimes he takes himself out as if he's a board chairman of one of the key institutions of state. But I can understand his positioning of himself in this contest. So he was in a dilemma. Even if he wins, how's he going to sell the party's achievement? Yet he couldn't disown the party as well. So he was in a fix. But Bawumia was clear out and out. He had to defend the government. He had to defend his record. And so it's expected. I mean, I expected Dr. Bawumia to win. 61%, it's a respectable figure. And don't forget, Evans, this is his first attempt for the flag bearership position. First attempt. If you go back to our history of the party, I'm not sure anyone, first attempt has won. You go, Dubois initially, I think he took it. But then Kufuor.
Yeah, he won in 92 and Kufuor beat him in 96.
Yes, yeah. Kufuor came in, even if the first time Kufuor came third.
Yeah.
If you remember. Then 98, Kufuor, 96, then Kufuor won. And then he went for the 90 election.
Kufuor was in second.
Kufuor didn't win. Kufuor had to go back. And that's the pattern. And for Dr. Bawumia, it's a very good attempt. And it's very good results for him. But don't forget, he carried himself very well. The first time I met him was in President Kufuor's house. And he just come into the country like me. I had also come to the country from UK. He was so sober, and I said, Mr. Papa, I said, oh, he's a nice guy. He's coming to help us with the Bank of Ghana. He's a smart guy. And I kept an eye on him, saying, this is a star in the party.
I see.
It's a star in the party, because the party had always been the account-tagged party for a long time. And I admit, I mean, we all have our inside discussions, and we know that outside there's like, if you're not an Akan, you don't come in. Even when I stood an election in Infantiman, at some point the Akan was even dropped, and they said I was an Ashanti. I'm Ashanti by name, Asamoah Boati. But my mom is a Fanti. And so I had to convince them that that's my mom, I go with matrilineal. And so you see the differences inside. So we needed to have some way of bridging that kind of tag and getting together as a party that shares away those tags. And we're lucky to have a candidate of his caliber, and he cuts across. When he came into the party as a running mate to Nana Akufo-Addo in the 2008 election, when he was elected, I think at Alisa, I was a council of national council member. It was a tough decision. I mean, the party was just come in, relaxed. There are people ahead of him, but Akufo-Addo stuck with him. And it took a while. He built his character through that. And against a lot of heavyweights in the party. And he's come along. His humility, his approach to people, he cuts across everybody. Youth, he's a young man, don't forget. He's a young man. And he reaches to some of us who have been in the party for donkeys. Don't forget, I've come a long way. And so I knew this is a star coming in. And he's conducted himself so well. And especially, if you look at even the government programs, and everywhere government has succeeded in touching like fundamental changes in our economy, his name comes across there. The digitization of most of our services, he's in there. Everywhere, Dr. Bawumia will be there. And so far, I haven't had any complaint about him. So we are lucky to have him around. But having said that, Kennedy is a crowd puller. Kennedy is a crowd puller. There's no election that I would say Kennedy doesn't come in. He will come in. We need Kennedy in an election. He sits on the platform. He just get a crowd.
As we analyze tonight will be, so what do you do with Ken now? Now, with all the votes he's got, what do you do with him? Raymond, I'm staying with you on the question of the expectation.
Yes.
He's confessed. He was expecting 75%. So this clearly isn't what he was expecting.
Clearly. But he was not alone. We all know that, I mean, as if it was a refrain or some data had been shared around to be... Samuel Oku said it. A lot of the people who campaigned for Dr. Bawumia said, in fact, they even said at least 70%. The clarity, remember, it was our conversation over the Global Info Analytics data. That's where Sami said he would dismiss it immediately because it doesn't put Dr. Bawumia within the 70s. And anything below 70, in fact, he was even pushing up to 80. And some said, well, it's a done deal, but the percentage will show what's important here. Two things would happen. Our expectation was that he was going to put up a fight. And we mentioned that if you have gleaned the polls, they were suggesting Dr. Bawumia's figures were still rising in the north, but not in the south of the country, which was a bit problematic because the higher numbers were in the south. So you do not need to win so many regions to actually make the inroads that Ken is making. If you, of course, the regions don't matter in this election, unless for analysis, because it's a unitary state, so it doesn't matter. But if you break it down, Ken is, as we know now, winning like 2 or 3 regions, Central, Volta, then maybe another one if he adds up to it. You think about it, he's making over 30% with just 2 regions and getting some of the lowest figures in the north of the country. But those figures don't matter because of the numbers involved here. And that's something that he was hoping to ride on. And he was also successful in doing something, pitching candidates who were for, as in parliamentary candidates and parliamentary MPs, who were for, what they call Dr. Bawumia, against the ordinary people. Regional chairman, constituency chairman. He made it so clear that they were not for their interest, that they were taking big money and the people on the ground were not getting anything. So you needed to make your voice heard differently. So you could see some of the reaction on the ground reflecting that kind of opinion. Ultimately, if he doesn't get the impression that still an establishment candidate was favored over me, then he'll play ball. But of course, people know him to also be a businessman. And the thing with businessmen in politics is that ultimately, he'll do the +1 -2, and it comes down to, well, what will be my interest in going forward? Already, I've heard people within the NPP saying that he just bumped up to number 2 on the list of a possible future for the NPP. That you can no longer dismiss or see Kennedy Agyapong, who in less than 1 year, and let's not get it wrong,
And you make a very important
in
point.
less than 1 year, has made so much inroads that people have done God knows how long, since 2008, have not been able to do similar action on the ground. He appears to have gotten a certain support, grassroots, for a political party that is seen to be elitist in nature. It is one of the reasons they can never ignore him today, because you would need him to still get to the grounds. There's a conversation happening within the NPP today about whether or not Dr. Bawumia is identified with by the ordinary person, even within the party. And if we remove all the other hangers on the support, would he still be able to make the kind of inroads that Kennedy Agyapong did in this case? So that is how important the man has moved from a financier, somebody who was saying things nobody liked in this country, somebody who was condemned by virtually everybody, right from international institutions and all of that, to now one of the most important people within the NPP.
And you can't
I've even
ignore.
heard the conversation that all of the 16 or so Asante potential vice presidential candidates do not have anything close to what he has in the party.
And you cannot ignore him now. And you make the point about he's placed second. What does it mean for him going forward? The party's history shows in primaries, those who place second tend to rise to the top. It's the reason why.
I'll make a claim.
Make a claim for it. And I was going to make the claim bit because you have Alan Chamanting who had placed second over the period, believing and ran with the slogan "Edru Meso," because he believed at the point that it was his time, right? And then you have Ken, who is now placed second. Of course, there are more races coming up in the next few years.
Yes.
In 1998, when they did the primary, the current president was second. Eventually, he came forward and believed that, of course, it was his turn. And we were told that in the party, they have these arrangements that you eventually get to a place where you rise to the top. What will be Ken's thinking around that going forward? Would he get to a place where he believes, and I want to bring in here, Echesi Kanku, that because of what he secured now, looking at the party's history over time, he is next in line, possibly. He has a right to lead the party going into post-2024, for example. The party will have to manage that.
Yeah, thank you very much, Evans. I don't even know whether to take your second question or the first one about expectations, but I still want to stab on that. I think...
No, go for the expectation, because it's still within that realm.
I think we're overstating everything over here. Listen, Kennedy Agyapong has been a mainstay of the political trajectory of this country for a long time. I don't have the exact year, but he's been an MP and honorable is here.
20 years.
20 years?
Since 2000.
20 years.
Since 2000.
2 decades. That is not a short time in politics. And in order to build your constituency as a politician or somebody who wants to aspire for the president, getting your hold on a parliamentary constituency is very important. In fact, some have stated that one of the reasons why Alan Chamanting has not done as well in the presidentials or in his political career is because he does not have a constituency he can call his own. And I heard an elder within the party saying that he advised him that go stand for parliament and get that political experience. Honorable Kennedy has been there. He has the political experience. He has the political capital. So let's not overstate what has happened today. Yes, it is an impressive showing based on the expectations game. And politics sometimes has an internal forced expectation games that are played, that is being played. I've heard all those things. And so that is influencing what we are saying. But then when you strip it off, those games of expectations, and you look at the bare essentials, you look at the existing context within which this has happened, my goodness, it is watershed, it is momentous, and I think we are losing that. This is a party which since its formation it started participating in political elections in 1992, has had an Akan-oriented leader ever since, or even just an Akan leader ever since it was formed. It became so difficult for anybody outside that Akan region to pierce their way and to best that veneer glass to get into the top, to become the political candidate. In fact, it became the clarion cry of a lot of people that, hey, no way a Northerner is going to be, they are ethnocentric, they are tribalistic, very huge argument. For the first time, we do have a Northerner becoming the leader of a major political party in this country. The scion of the Dombo tradition, the former Bawumia tradition. I mean, Aliyu Mahama, that memory has all come into play right now, and Bawumia has carried that fire and become the first northern leader of the party and the first Muslim leader of the party in a Christian-dominated country, and going at it for the first time and not even being from the hallowed halls of Bank of Ghana as a professional, an economic professional, and then this first step as VP. He has done it. This is a historical moment. And we shouldn't let the expectations game cloud or help let us recognize the importance of what has happened today, not just for the New Patriotic Party, but for our democracy in Ghana. A lot of people will look at this and say that me too can become presidential candidate one day, irrespective of my tribe, irrespective of my religion, irrespective of if I don't even belong to a long history of politics. And it will be an inspiring moment. So for me, that is my first point in terms of is this what I expected? Is this what I didn't expect? I think that What has happened is momentum for what it is, and we should recognize it for what it is. Honor has done great from the context too. I mean, his pronouncement, his rhetoric, and where he's come from. I mean, nobody expected him to get here. He even said himself that he does not, I mean, I don't want to be president. He said it sometime. He never thought.
As you said in the morning, no, dear grown FI.
Thank you. He never thought he was getting here. So it's impressive. It's impressive. And he has carried a certain voice